So to show you what to do with the border, I'm using my gauge. So it's 10 by 10, and this is the right side because the little tail down here. You need a 6mm crochet hook, and then whatever colour you're starting out with, which we said in the pattern. The reason you want your 6mm crochet hook is because we're going to be doing single crochets down, and this is obviously half double crochet, and that's in 5. So you need to go up a size crochet hook from whatever you've done just to get that tension right. Otherwise it will become really tight. So the first thing you need to do is get your cream yarn and your 6mm hook. And depending what side you want to go for, your right or your left, it doesn't matter which you start out with, you want to turn that so that is at the top of your work. So we'll work on this side. So that will be your vertical right as you're looking at it. So vertical right side, and turn that to be at the top of your work. So again, you only need to do this for your vertical sides, because your vertical sides have obviously got your end of your rows here, which doesn't look as neat as the stitches on the top. So only with your vertical sides do you need to kind of go across in a single crochet and add some more stitches in cream. So once you've turned it, so we've got vertical right, you've got to add in the furthest corner your cream yarn. And then just add it with a chain there. So like we said before, because this is half double crochet and we're using single crochets, we need to add a couple of stitches along here to make sure that blanket border isn't really tight. So on your first row here, so your odd number rows, you're going to add 2 single crochets. So try go in the corner and then just find somewhere here to go. So we'll go straight back in, add that first stitch, and then this is your second row. You want to do it just before, and that's your second stitch. And with an even number row, so number 2, you're just going to add the 1. So just add it in the top here. And that is your repeating pattern. So any one that kind of looks a bit more indented, so your odd number row, you'll add 2 single crochets, and then if it's kind of juts out a bit more, so your even number row, you'll just add the 1. And that's the pattern we're setting. So it's for every 2 rows, there's 3 single crochets. And that gives you a bit more stitches and just stops it being as tight. So find somewhere to go number 1. Number 2. And then this is the top of that 4th row. So you'll just add 1 there. And you'll continue going down like that. So that's 1, 2, and top of that one. And then 1, 2, and then just 1 at the top of that even numbered row. It might be easier to think of it as indents or not indented in terms of 1 or 2 stitches. So it should tell you the number that you need in the pattern by the end of it. And this is because when we're joining that different colour, this will be a lot easier to do than if we didn't have single crochets along there. So this is us finished. So we had 9 rows and we've ended up with 14 single crochets atop. We've got 2 in that one, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Because we're doing 2 on these rows and then 1 on the even row, and you've just repeated that. So now you want to bring in whatever colour that you're starting with. It will tell you in the pattern which colour to start with depending what side of your border you're doing. And you want to, again, start in the furthest right corner with this single crochet at the top of your work. And you're just going to add that to the first stitch. And then you're going to chain 9 up. 1, so you're chaining 9 up because you're going to be having 8 single crochets down here like that. So if you go down your chain and in the second chain, go into it, and then do 8 single crochets down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is slightly different than with the rest of your stitches, but for this very first one, if you go slip stitch into that first stitch again and into the next one, I just feel like this secures it a bit better. So we're sitting like that. So once you've done your 2 slip stitches, you want to chain 1 and turn your work, and you're going to be working back up along this. You do 8 single crochets. So as you can see, it kind of looks like there's a stitch there, but there isn't. That's just attaching it. So you want to go straight into this one here with a single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is our second row. So we're just going to chain 1 and then work back down by turning it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you get to this point, it will always look like you have an extra 9th stitch there. You don't. That's just where it's attached to the single crochets you've already done. So skip that one. Promise you it won't look bad. And then you're going to single or slip stitch, sorry, into the next 2. So this one, got nothing in, slip stitch, and another slip stitch into that one there. And by doing these slip stitches, it just attaches your work into the bottom, and you do 2 because you do 1 for the row you've already made, and you do 1 to almost gain the height for your next one. So it's a bit like chaining 1, but you still want to chain 1 and turn it. So you'll do the same 8 up here. So I'll show you how to colour change now. So the colour changes we've shown in the pattern, and there's tables and there's written to show you how many times to colour change on this border of your stripes, but I'll show you how to do it now just a little bit early. So you do different things depending if you colour change at the top or the bottom. So this is colour changing at the top. So what you're going to do, you're going to leave 2 loops on your hook and don't finish that single crochet stitch, and you're going to pull the new colour through, whatever that colour is. And then you're just going to do like you normally do, chain 1 and then work back down. Turn your work and then work back down, doing your 8 single crochets. And then this is the same. You just want to slip stitch and then slip stitch again. And then chain 1 and we'll go back up. So that shows you how to do the colour change when it's at the top of your work, which is nice and easy, and you kind of do similar to what you would do with any stitches. And in terms of your colour work, it's very similar to your actual blanket. It's slightly different when you have a colour change at the bottom, so I'll show you that next. So just chained 1 and we're working back down. So for this one, you want to do all 8 single crochets in the colour you're still doing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you want to finish that stitch on your 8th stitch. So you want to bring your new colour back in. It can either be your same colour or a different one, depending what you want for your pattern. And it's for the slip stitches that you want to attach it for. So you completed the 8th stitch. This one isn't a stitch, so you're ignoring that. You go into the next one and pull your new colour through. This will look very, very loose. All you have to do is pull that yellow nice and tight there and keep that red tight. And then do your 2 slip stitches, chain 1, and then turn it back around and again work back up. And it's very easy to tell which one this stitch is with the colour changes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is your colour change, and that is what it should look like. So it's all neatly in its own little square. So you shouldn't have any kind of colours overlapping each other. If you don't change this 2 slip stitches to your new colour, then you'll have a little bit of yellow kind of tucking itself over here. So you want to make sure you change both of them. I'm going to go to the end and I'll show you what to do with the last couple of stitches. So if you remember how many stitches I had across here, I had 14. In the pattern there's 289, so you will actually end on an odd one. So like for example the 13 here. So it is a difference, so I'm not going to work this 14th one, it's just to show you what it is like to finish on an odd number. So we'll work all the way back down. It's quite easy. Instead of slip stitching your 1, or sorry, your 2, you will do your 1. So you literally just slip stitch into the final stitch there. So, and when you slip stitch the first one, that is actually attaching the row you've already done to it. The next one along is you additionally doing that second row. So if you finish on an odd number, you should just only have to slip stitch 1, whereas you finish on this even one, you'll slip stitch again, and just make sure you work back up. But that is only if you finish on an even number, which you shouldn't do because you should have 289 rows. But if it does go a bit different and you finish on the odd number, then yeah, you finish at the top of this bit here. And there you go. So that is showing you 14 single crochets across with a colour change in there, but it should be 289 stitches by the end. And that is your lovely border. So I'll show you how many times you need to colour change and what colours to. Then make sure the most important thing is to do this vertical cream single crochets first before you do any of the horizontal borders as well. So this is a little bit more complicated way of doing it. I like doing it this way because I like seeing it attached to it straight away. Other people, if you want, then all you have to do is follow the kind of do your 8 single crochets. You can do it as a separate piece and then attach it in any way you want. But I find this easier just because I don't have to attach anything at the end. But it's completely up to you. If you find this way too hard, just do 8 single crochets across with a certain amount of rows you need with those colour changes and then attach it to the piece afterwards. I hope that was really helpful.